Rated G. It is suitable for all audiences.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 new bridges between our lands.
Welcome to another edition of our program, ASEAN in Focus. I'm your host, Kaloy Tobunda from the New Era University, ASEAN Studies Center and Center for International Linkages. We're very fortunate to have with us today in our program former Secretary of National Defense and also former National Security Advisor Norberto Gonzales, who is also my former boss, to help us discuss the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law, which is up for ratification by July 23. The two chambers are currently set to meet in a bicameral conference to reconcile the two versions of the bill before it is ratified into law. As an organic act, the Basic Law aims to abolish the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or ARMM, and provide for the basic structure of government for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Following the agreements set forth in the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro Peace Agreement signed between the Government of the Philippines and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front in 2014. Welcome to the program again, sir.
Hello.
Oh, maraming salamat at pinaunlakan mo muli ang aming paanyaya. Okay, as somebody who used to work closely with the Moro National Liberation Front, with the MILF, and you were there in the thick of the negotiations with the MILF during the GMA administration. What can you say about this present BBL law that is due for the bicameral conference?
Well, it's something we have to wish good luck to. Kasi alam mo, this is not the only effort, as you know. For example, yung MOA AD, which was already accepted by the MILF and by government, was later on declared unconstitutional. So I'm wondering what will happen to BBL after. The problem is that BBL is about to be approved by Congress.
Yes, yes.
So we should not worry too much about this particular stage. What we should be worrying about is what happened after.
When they begin to question the constitutionality of
the constitutionality, and then you begin the squabbling, because you know the MNLF felt that the last autonomous law did not give them what they wanted, and then so that they feel that they have a big share on what will be given yet by government. And BBL, I think the way it is being organized on the ground is that does not have the kind of participation that MNLF wants as a share. No?
So in short, you don't approve of it?
Well, the MILF is really demanding for it. This is a difficult question, because if you don't give it, the action that MILF might take, could deteriorate the already precarious condition in Muslim Mindanao. So, parang you are forced to do this. Well, rationally speaking, I hope that we will have the time and the opportunity in the future to repair these things. No? But frankly speaking, if you will ask me, this is not the time to do anything fundamental.
Yeah, but this has been going on for a long time already. When is the proper time to...
That is precisely that's it. But this is the situation that we have. I believe that whatever will be given to the MILF will not satisfy them. And will not be satisfactory to the MILF, and then the MILF will begin to question what about us? What has been given to us has not really been fulfilling the aspirations of the revolution that we launched.
Can you give some of the provisions which was requested, quote-unquote, by the MNLF before? What should be the form of the ARMM? What should have been the form? What was their dream?
Well, their dream.
Yeah, their dream, yeah.
The thing is that, in terms of area, for example, that is a very, very funny thing, because they were asking for In the beginning of the negotiation, they were asking for 22 provinces. Later on, Nur Miswari agreed to the 13 regions. And then eventually we were proposing about 7. Then came out as 4. So from the area coverage alone,
that's what yun ang lumabas dun sa plebiscite, diba? Only 4 areas.
Only 4 areas. So as you can see, because you know actually the 7 provinces is actually a formulation of the late Father Intengan, because he said that the 7 provinces then will give opportunity for the Bangsamoro to win elections, because in the composition of 7, they're majority in 4, about big minority on the 3, so that an election Moro politicians can win if there is a polarization of Christians versus Muslims. So that's the 7, but only 4.
So that's one area they did not like it.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the other? What other areas did they dream of being included in the ARMM? What other aspects of governance?
Well, you know, the dream of the MNLF is to become a state.
Okay.
To really become a state, or
but of course that's unconstitutional.
That is unconstitutional, and it's really we have to salute former President Ramos for his ability to convince the MNLF to lower their expectations. The MNLF is the same. No? They're also dreaming of their own state.
Do you think that's still feasible with the BBL? The realization of that dream?
Well, without any constitutional change, no, there's not. Both parties are limited actually. Without charter change. So what probably convinced the MILF is the promise that, okay, we will do this first, and then when there's charter change, let's hope that the Bangsamoro community is already organized enough to be able to intervene effectively during the time that we will be changing the constitution. Although, what I have been telling my friends, both in the MNLF and the MILF, is this: you cannot. It's not fair. It's not fair. But at the same time, if you want to be pragmatic and practical about it, you should not be demanding, from the body politic, something that is special to you. For example, what is the fundamental reason why you want an autonomy? Because you are saying that you are the most underdeveloped, that you are the most impoverished. So there are many issues on poverty, political rights, religious rights, etc. But you know, every region of the country thinks that they're suffering the same, and you are dealing with the Congress, represented by leaders from these regions. So at the back of their mind, why are we going to give this to the Moros only? How about us? How about Region 1, Region 2, Region 3? That's why I was telling them, if I were you, what I will propose is to make all regions autonomous. And I can already tell you that the kind of autonomy you'll get is far better than what you can get today.
But that would
because it's for everyone.
But that would require a massive overhaul of our constitution, because in the constitution only 2 regions are identified to be autonomous, ARMM and Cordillera.
That's why I'm saying maybe we should not be thinking of charter change. Maybe we should think of amendments.
Just amend.
Just amendments. One question: you want all regions to be declared autonomous? Yes or no? then when they say yes, then you work. Then what you will be asking for becomes universal.
Yes.
Because many people really are saying this. Why are we giving this to the Moros when we need it too?
Yes.
Those are the...
And there's also this one view I heard once, that we don't need to have really a Bangsamoro, because the Moros can go anywhere in the Philippines, right? In the first place, the Philippines was originally a Muslim land, I remember. So what can you say about that? Do they need a separate Bangsamoro when they can really go anywhere in the Philippines?
Well, this may not be so, but even just for cultural reasons, I think they need one.
Okay.
They need one because, that is the one of the beauty of our country. We actually have 9 nationalities in the Philippines, not only the Bangsamoro. And it will be beautiful if we can see the enhancement of their cultures as nationalities.
There's another proposed portion in the BBL, which states that every 5 years or so, for the next 25 years, there will be a plebiscite in the area wherein they will ask the residents if they want to become part of the Bangsamoro. Do you think that's good?
The world is changing. There are no more boundaries, actually. The reason why I'm saying that they should have a geographic territory of their own is because of, as I said, cultural, for cultural reasons. But in terms of boundaries, it's changing. We're too small to be divided, actually.
What about the governance issue of the Bangsamoro? What can you say about that?
Well, I have not seen the real, actual draft, no. But this problem of having 2 systems within one system is probably constitutionally problematic, meaning that
we're not parliamentary.
That their Congress is going to be parliamentary in
and
form.
The Philippines is not a parliamentary.
The Philippines is not. So how do you reconcile that? Okay. So that's an essential question that they have to address. No?
Okay. Another contentious issue was the police force, but we will discuss about that when ASEAN in Focus returns.
Register.
Ako cash register, bala
Yun nga, pati yung LTO registration booth. Buti hindi niya nakalimutan.
Mga birthday niya eh. Kasi, naku,
pamakantay na naman ako. Yan ginawa mo sa akin.
Sunod-sunod na yan.
Hindi lang siya nasaktan kasi ng isang beses, 2 beses, 3 beses, maraming beses.
Sa isang tao yun.
Dahil sa isang tao.
Kahit sino in love, kapag kasama mo yung mahal mo sa buhay at nanonood kayo ng TV at kailangan na niyang umuwi, pero sasabihin niya, huwag ka muna umuwi dito.
Ayun.
Sabi niya kasi meaningful daw yung Blue Rose, kaya
binigyan mo siya.
Apo.
Walang dahilan.
Hindi kasi meaningful yun for it.
Apo.
Kaya kahit anong meaningful, bibigay mo talaga sa minamahal mo, di ba?
Yung inspirasyon, iba-iba rin eh. Depende rin sa mood.
Oo, total. Nakita mo na ako, may dagdag inspirasyon.
Sige. In the end, sobrang worth it ng mga nangyari. Kaya nga nung natapos kami, iyak talaga ako. Feeling ko gumraduate ako.
Letters and Music, Monday to Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. only here on Net 25.
Pep News, Linggo, alas 4 hanggang alas 5 ng hapon.
Welcome back to our interview with Mr. Norberto Gonzales, the former Secretary of National Defense and also former National Security Advisor. We were talking about the BBL, and before we ended, we touched on the police force. That's one of the most contentious issues while this is being deliberated. So finally, what was approved, I think, in both houses of Congress was that the police force will still be under the Philippine National Police. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, I have an ambivalence there now because I don't know, because right now we really do not see how how being national or being regional, you cannot find a comparison. A comparison, actually, Actually, that really depends on how well we trust
the local police.
The local police,
And do you think it's really a problem in the Muslim Mindanao area? Can the national police trust whoever will be there?
Alam mo, actually, what I have observed, yung character ng mga Bangsamoro, actually they look up to the national.
The national government.
They really look up to the national, even if you don't want them to do so anymore. They still do.
But why has that been a contentious issue? I mean, those coming from there were
you understand both sides. For example, on the case of the Bangsamoro, I think they want to police their own people.
Okay.
Because culturally speaking, there are really certain police matters that needs the understanding of the cultural character of the people you are policing. So that is understandable.
Okay.
At the same time, because of the background of the agent that is requesting change in the Bangsamoro, MILF is a fighting, is a guerrilla organization, so is the MNLF. So there has been war. So it's not easy to eliminate that in the subconscious.
So can they find a balance,
Well, the thing to do is to try, to try and see, because I do not think that if you give the Bangsamoro their own police force, that we have so many speculation that could be a beginning of an independent army that will relate with other nations. To me, yes and no. So really, I think the safer attitude is to be trusting.
Okay, and do you think we have enough trust among us?
Well, it's something we have to learn.
Okay, the next issue is the sharing of wealth. We know for a fact that region of the Philippines is very much rich in natural resources. So,
I think that this is sensitive in a way that other regions feel that their resources, the one they have in their own regions, they produce and what you derive from it economically, actually they feel that their share is not enough.
Okay.
It always goes to, for example, mining companies, they pay their taxes in Makati. So they say Makati is the one benefiting from the resources that we have in our particular regions. So the thing here is that I think the regions will also begin to, if it is granted to the Bangsamoro, there will be clamor from other regions. So we don't know. That's the question there.
Okay, so the problem is across the whole country.
Across the whole country. That is why I said, instead of, this is out of topic, instead of advocating federalism in the full sense of the word, perhaps we can begin with what we could call economic autonomy for all regions, so that the regions can really take advantage of the resources and develop.
Anyway, you mentioned about federalism. Actually, that's my next question.
Yeah.
Will the change of federal form of government make all of this BBL thing, useless?
Well, a decade ago, I liked federalism, but now, given the conditions of the world,
okay,
I think federalism is a good idea to make the country bigger, not be divided into small components.
How is that?
Well, I think that, Rizal talked about this, that he wants when we were thinking of freedom from Spain, we were already thinking of forming, the Malay race, meaning Malaya, Indonesia, Philippines are Malay. He's thinking of a greater country. Right now, I think there's a new movement in the world wherein the old conflicts are being revived, meaning there's the Russia probably thinking of another Soviet Union. Maybe China wants to expand.
It is doing now.
So how do you react to that? I think the logical move is for us to become bigger. I think we should start aspiring to become an ASEAN federation.
Okay, but ASEAN is the 10 member states. And when you say
become one,
okay,
become one confederation, like the United States, you know.
Okay.
Then we will have the size, we will have the boundary, and
So
we will
that
know
is
how rich it will be.
We will be, ASEAN will be the 4th biggest economy in 2050, I think.
Can you imagine that?
So when you say federalism, you're thinking of a bigger
ASEAN, because
ASEAN.
You know, federalism actually, political science says is a mechanism to increase your size. It's never been used to divide a nation into parts. No? So to me, we advocate federalism, but let us review the historical experience about that results statement. Remember Mafilindo of Macapagal?
Yes.
That is trying to bring nations together. Can you imagine? Because to me, this is the only way we can begin to have some respect. You know? Because as Philippines, you know, there's China, there's India, you know. Then if we are ASEAN, we may be about what, 600 million?
650 million now.
650 million now. That's a very viable economic market, you know, the potential. And look at the individual capacities of the nations that will get together.
So your version of federalism is the bigger ASEAN. So what can you say about what they're doing right now in?
To me, I think what should be done is not necessarily to touch the Constitution as a whole.
Okay.
I think we can begin to think in terms of what I said earlier. We begin to design a mechanism wherein regions can plan their own economic development.
More autonomous.
More autonomy on the economic plane, because politically,
short of doing the federalism thing.
Yes.
Because we can achieve economic autonomy per region without necessarily changing the whole constitution.
Yeah, simply by enhancing, for example, the Regional Development Council.
Yeah.
It's an informal division of the country, economically speaking, but that can be enhanced. Our laws can do that. You know, we don't need to change the Constitution.
Actually, there are views. I think I had one guest once. I think it's one of my former guests here. He said that we are actually federalized. Of course, not by name, but we're actually federalized already. We just need to strengthen the local government code of the Philippines.
Well, government local code, and I would really think that we need to start studying how a region can pursue economic development as a region, because also there are, you know, the resources are not fully tapped, and you have the national really just.
Yes.
You know, deriving a few things here, a few things there. But if a nation will really plan, you know, the development of... That was the dream of President Ramos, I think, when he brought out the
super regions, I think.
During GMA, during our time yun. Pero yung Regional Development Council, I think, is worth looking at as a system.
Short of saying that we don't need to reinvent the wheel, it's already been there. We just need to look at it and enhance it.
During our time, we enhanced the Regional Development Council.
But unfortunately, nothing happened out also. Okay, next topic before we end. What can you say about the Marawi rehabilitation now? It's been 1 year already.
Well, you see, I think what government should do is address the infrastructure requirement. For example, the streets are narrow there, etc. Then it's devastated. You can replan the infra aspect of it
from scratch.
Yeah, the infra aspect. Widen the roads, put the sewage, you know, a lot of systems that is for common to all. But when it comes to rebuilding homes, you know, the Maranaos are a very proud people. And their culture also thanks that it is very distinct. You know, it's a beautiful, their designs will be beautiful. I don't think we should put money into housing. What is important here is that if we are able, and it's just a small city, we just identify who lost homes and open a housing loan to them.
So
then just lower the interest or give concessional interest to them. Let them build their own homes, but define the where the roads will be, you know.
Yeah.
It's the infrastructure that we should look at, you know. But never mind the homes; they can build their homes.
So you're saying, in fact, that there should be more local participation in the rebuilding.
There should be complete participation of the local, because the Maranaos, how they want to do things on their own. I mean, it will be an insult to them if they're spoon-fed. When people start thinking, this is what is good for you, this is the kind of design you should have, this is where you should build your home. Oh, gulo yan.
Okay, so what should be the role of the national government then, apart from providing
build the infrastructure, build the roads.
Okay, the drainage.
The drainage, the electricity, you know, what government should be doing in all other areas of the country.
Do you think there's hope in this, you know, in the current plans that are being drafted, although I don't see any final approved plan yet?
You know, I think it's being done, it's being discussed like an NGO discussion. So, you know, that will not work.
Okay.
That will not work.
It's 1 year after. What about the peace and order dimension of the rebuilding of the city?
Well, you know, Marawi, given all the killings before, is relatively safe, no? During those days. So I think now, you see, I think one of the things that the national can do, you know, is to be neutral in terms of local politics. You know, they should step away. Because, you know, mga Maranao, they always go to, I remember, you know, each time there's an election, Now politicians don't campaign in Marawi. They campaign in Malacanang. They will literally put a shell to campaign na ako yung official. And that is what they're doing there now, no? I mean, local officials will go to this general, go to this secretary, go to the president, and say, kami dapat ang leader dito, masama yung tao na yan, mabuti yung tao na yan, you know. So, that's Maranao.
So in short, how hopeful are you that Marawi can be rebuilt, you know, much better than it used to be?
Not necessarily much better, but Marawi will be rebuilt by themselves.
And we should allow them to rebuild.
Despite government, they will rebuild it.
And we should allow that.
We should allow and help if they can, but let them be the ones.
So that peace and order will reign in the area.
Yes.
Okay, when we come back, we will talk more about different national and international security issues when ASEAN in Focus returns.
Welcome to the garden. A world that recaptures the value of life, creating your moments, kindling your passion, worth reliving over and over. This is your world, your life, your garden.
The machine is back at it. Guns N' Roses, not in this lifetime tour. Welcome to the rock spectacle of 2018 comes to the Philippines. November 11th, 2018 at Philippine Arena, Bulacan. Quick sale for Fan Club members on June 8th, 10 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Public on sale June 9, 10 a.m. Don't miss Guns N' Roses. Brought to you by MMI Live and Prestige Worldwide.
I promise you that I will stay.
Ako po si Gerald Santos. Abangan niyo po ako sa RYTS, Rule Yourself to Success. Ngayong Sabado na dito lang sa Net25.
Beyond all the rains coming down, whatever's our fate, together we'll.
Hi, this is Ian Veneracion, and happy 50th anniversary Eagle Broadcasting Corporation.
Letters and Music, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, 1:00 hanggang 2:00 ng hapon.
Welcome back to our interview with former Secretary of National Defense and former National Security Advisor, Norberto Gonzales. Sir, one of the pressing issues, of course, now is China. What can you say about the South China Sea conflict?
Well, you know, what is difficult, what has become very difficult is that China actually built forward defense bases in territories
claimed by other states.
Claimed by other states, but even territories that's been decided by world courts to be part of our jurisdiction. So that makes it very, very difficult.
So what do you think, where is this going?
Depends on what is the appreciation of China on the role of the bases that they have positioned now in Scarborough and Spratly. You know. So how important is that to them? You know, kasi I wrote a paper on this. I was saying that China, in general, is not aggressive. I mean, it does not uses military action.
It does not invade.
It does not invade in general.
In general,
except in matters or questions of territory. When it comes to territory, you know that they have had some conflict with Vietnam, some neighboring countries. You know, they use military force. What is interesting is that during the time of Pinoy, about siguro towards the later half of the Pinoy administration, if you have access to the local papers of China, you will be surprised to read that China considers the Philippines as China's #1 threat and enemy in the local papers of China.
I know that. I was in Beijing early 2016, I think.
Yeah.
And we visited the headquarters of the People's Daily something.
Yeah.
And you know, the headline was, China condemns Philippine hypocrisy on the South China Sea. And I was there. I was the only Filipino delegate of the ASEAN delegation.
We are considered as the #1 threat. You know, when a country begins to tell its people that the #1 threat is this particular country, you know, it hints of a deeper, plans. And then suddenly you have them immediately, unilaterally building forward defense bases. It's up for us to, the international clearly considers that as a very important, a very significant move. Now, will China, consider this as a territorial dispute serious enough to use its armed forces? That is what, to me, is the question. Because you see, if this is so important to China, China has refused all legal remedies, actually, because they know they will lose. In the absence of any legal remedy, for them to permanently claim this little islet, the artificial islands, there is only one option left to them, you know, and that is the military option.
Do you think they will do that?
Well, I don't know, but if they want to keep it, because there's a window for that. There are other experiences in the world. I think if I were China, what will I do? You know, it will take how many days do you think before U.S. will react to such an effort? 1 day, 1 week?
Their Senate will still debate upon that.
You see, this is what I mean. During the time that no reaction can come from the international, you know the comparison of our military strength, U.S. versus Philippines. You know, I think that within hours they can control the sky and they control the sea, and within hours they can even reduce some of our cities into rubble if they want. But you see, to me the scenario is you go in, you bomb some cities, you probably land some troops in some areas, and then when the international protest comes, you say, okay. You agree on the protest, and the international will ask you, please pull out your troops. China will even agree to a pull out, provided. This is what happened between Egypt and Israel, you know. Do you remember that episode of the Golan Heights, wherein Israel went all through inside Egypt, and then when the international said that that's not proper, Israel said, okay, it's not proper,
just pull back. But the damage has been done.
Not only that, pull back to the point where they want to, up to the pulled out up to here. That is what China will ask, we will be compelled to yield our sovereignty claim on those islands.
Actually, those are very those are very alarming, statements. But of course, we hear the statements coming from this administration, which they say that we won't engage in a war with China. So, do you think it's not just it's not just shallow talk, but it's
I think the talk is we will not attack or invade China.
China will not attack or invade us. Okay.
No. Our president is saying that he will not order the attack or invasion of China. I'm not talking about us planning to invade China. That will be ridiculous and stupid. Really. But supposing China decides to attack us, what do we do? That is the question I'm posing. What I'm questioning is, so supposing China invade us, is there any preparation we can do?
Yeah, but do you think China is ready to face the wrath of the rest of the world? I mean, at this point in time.
That depends on how important those bases are. And calculation yan eh. Calculation yan. What will US do?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we came to realize that the Mutual Defense Treaty is just an executive agreement. Am I right? And then it would be up for the Senate to decide whether they will come to our aid or not.
I think the US reaction will be measured in terms of US interest.
As always.
Yung interest, probably if there is such a seriousness in the actions of China, and then China will say, look, we have no intention of really...
Yeah, but my question is China willing to take the risk at this point in time?
Well, that is a question I want to raise or to trigger. Is China... how much is their interest in the islets that they put so much?
Yeah.
How much is their interest? Is that really essential to China's interest?
Of course it is, right now.
You see, what is triggering me to really start thinking of this question? When I said earlier that I think there is a revival of old arrangements in the world now. There's a news item, I have yet to see the full article. Sweden, a country that I consider to be careful in these matters.
Yeah, neutral.
Sweden declared a conscription of its citizens and gave a pamphlet about war to all the households in Sweden, how to prepare for war, how to react, what to do in case of war. Sweden has done that. What does that mean? Is Russia moving in that part of the world? Why will Sweden suddenly?
Is that a current?
Current. This is I only read it 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So if that is happening in that part of the world, what could be happening in our part of the world?
So do you think? So what can you say now about how the Duterte government responds to all of these activities by China?
I can only quote the president. I'm sorry, because there is no. I have not seen any indication of a solid policy on the South China Sea coming from our foreign affairs. The response of Duterte in one of the interviews that the Chinese president has guaranteed that I will not be removed from office. For you to say that the president of China guarantees that you will not remove from office, how deep is the involvement of China in our politics?
Oh well, what can
I mean? I'm just quoting what has been quoted in all the newspapers of the country, that our president said, the Chinese president promised me that I will not be removed from office.
Okay, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, that's why I'm not making any attack on anything. I'm just quoting. But
Yes.
That is
okay. And lately, actually, just this week, there are news reports that France and Britain are bringing in, ships to the South China Sea to help in patrolling, to ensure safe safe, no, freedom of navigation. What can you say about this? We're now involving the other powers, in the game.
In the case, in this, you see, all I'm saying is that we are not. I do not have very accurate ideas on how, because what I'm trying to do now is really just to separate national interest or national concern or national reaction to this, because I know that there's something international happening in our neighborhood. You heard the United States Defense Secretary saying that, part of our expertise is really sinking artificial islands in the Pacific. That is a very serious threat, no? And in fact, how serious is the U.S.? Will they really sink those artificial islands created by China? And then the South China Sea happens to be a very important sea lane for all. No? And interesting that the British are in
the French
are here. They're probably, you have to link this with what's going on in Europe and Russia. These are indicative of,
So you're painting a very, how can I describe it? Exciting,
very disturbing,
very disturbing scenario of things, of the portent of things coming in our part of the world. Okay,
yes.
Okay, we will talk more about what's happening in the South China Sea and other security issues when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns.
Welcome to the garden. A world that brings you back to that natural, carefree feeling of joy and happiness. A place where art becomes your song to strengthen bonds. Creating your moments, kindling your passion, worth reliving over and over. A world that recaptures the value of life. Breathe. This is your world, your life, your garden.
Want some more?
What's he doing?
But he can't.
Look at him. It's just not done.
Please, sir, I want some more.
More? More?
More? Please, sir.
He has asked for!
Thank you.
What?
Well, he did say please.
Sir? Yes, he did. And thank you.
Yeah, and thank you.
He's a wonderful boy. I do like the boy.
Please, and thank you. Pass it on.
Thank you.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Okay, we're back with our last portion of interview with Norberto Gonzales, a former Secretary of National Defense and also former National Security Advisor. Earlier, we were talking about the South China Sea issue, and you talked about this very, disturbing threat of war happening in this region, particularly affecting the Philippines, since we are right there at the center of the action. Of course, one of the factors that brings about our closer relationship with China is the economic reasons. Do you think China is giving enough to the Philippines?
Well, I will cite two items again that we read in the news. The first one is the complaint of Vietnam.
Okay.
Vietnam is a beneficiary of this built, or what is that? The old
Belt
Silk
and
Road, the Silk
Belt
Road
and
thing.
Road, yeah.
What Vietnam is saying is that, why is it that Chinese projects in China uses Chinese labor and not Vietnamese labor?
Di ba ganun din ng US naman?
No,
the US
advisors,
consultants, advisors,
pero hindi ito.
Laborers.
Laborers,
Okay.
using laborers. It's the same thing that's happening in Africa. And their complaint is that the interest is very high. Labor is not domestic. And the quality of the project is questionable. This is the Vietnam's experience on projects coming from China. Here comes the newly elected Prime Minister of China, of Malaysia. Si Mahathir. You know, he's just recently elected. And what is he saying? Well, he would like to have a renegotiation of Chinese loans because it is almost usurious. Yeah. And we know for a fact that in our case also, all the Chinese investments really are, compared to what Japan is giving us, is a very, very high interest. I think that it is important that while we do need investments, I think we should consider carefully what the Prime Minister Mahathir of Malaysia is doing right now. I think it's a good lesson that we should be looking into, and what Vietnam is also saying, and what African countries are actually saying, and
Sri Lanka.
And Sri Lanka for that matter. These things we have to examine carefully.
Okay.
So I think we should be careful.
But we're not yet really not beholden to China, do you think?
Not yet. Because so far what people are saying is more promises than
actual actions. Okay. You started to talk about Mahathir. Okay. How will Mahathir change the dynamics of ASEAN now? There's no strong voice in ASEAN as it is.
Well, I don't think Mahathir will attempt to be a strong voice in ASEAN. I think he will focus on domestic concerns.
Okay.
Which is not. I wish that he would. He would speak more for the region than for Malaysia. But I think he's 92 years old.
Yes.
He's thinking of staying no longer than 2 years. So there's not much that we can expect from there. But what is significant there is his statement about the Chinese investments in Malaysia. That is important to us. The other thing is, of course, our peace agreement, our peace efforts. You know that the third party in the talk is really Malaysia.
We were there. I remember 2001 when we opened the peace talks with the MILF. There were 4 of us who went to an audience with Mahathir.
Yes.
Secretary Erbita, Yong Afabli, you and I. We were there at the office of Prime Minister Mahathir.
Yes, you see. That is why he is familiar with this issue. But will he give it time during this particular 2 years? Because I think that the only country that has given so much attention to the MILF is Malaysia.
Okay.
So I don't know what's happening. And the people dealing with the MILF now are about to retire from office.
Yeah.
So
the old guys.
I don't know also the effect of that yet, but I'm really trying to read the concerns of Malaysia. I have called some friends there, and seems to me that the major concern is their domestic problem. So MILF will be in the side burner.
Okay, earlier you were talking about the Federalist, Federalist Union of Southeast Asia, and in order to achieve that, there should be a strong leader who will emerge. That's why I asked you about Mahathir. Do you think this is possible with no strong leader emerging from Southeast Asia?
Well, I was
unless President Duterte would want to take the role.
I was hoping because this is past, no? But I have actually asked President Arroyo, Ma'am, why don't you take a major lead in ASEAN? We need to have a stronger ASEAN, a more united ASEAN. And he said, no, not me. It should be Thaksin. But what happened to Thaksin is also another part of the...
Actually, logically, it should be Widodo, but it can't.
Well, I think
that.
you see, the problem is Singapore is quiet and does not want to assert itself because they always consider themselves to be small.
Yeah, but they're the richest in Southeast
Asia. That's right. What is important is this. I think we already have a regional anthem.
Yes.
We have a regional preamble. I think the economic arrangement so far has been solid.
Yes,
no?
yes.
So free trade, etc. I think what remains to be done is bilateral and multilateral defense agreements among ASEAN states.
There's now among Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia.
So expand that. Okay. The thing is that we can do that from the Philippines alone. We can do. We can begin the because eventually before we even think of becoming really federal, that's up to the future. But certain preparations can already be made today. The establishment of bilateral and multilateral defense agreement is possible at this time. The economic arrangements are already there, no? And I think it's moving.
Yes.
More and more towards solidarity in the economic plane. No? So those are
at least
important.
Those are the preparatory steps.
The preparatory steps, and the only thing that's becoming problematic now in ASEAN is their decision-making process,
which is consistent with the ASEAN way.
No, the ASEAN way is supposed to be consensus, right?
Yes.
But now they are now proposing majority decision because
ASEAN minus. There was ASEAN plus, now there's ASEAN minus.
Because every decision
has to pass through all of the 10
all of that,
states.
and seems that one or two countries, when it comes to anything about China, blocks decisions.
Yeah. So do you think that's feasible for the future?
But
or they need to rethink of their ASEAN way?
These are little problems actually compared, but I think the future is moving towards a more solid ASEAN because we do need each other really.
Yeah.
And it's not about becoming one big chunk of territory versus another big chunk of territory. It's really just about respect.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to be bigger to be respected these days.
Yeah, but I think there's really a need for a leader, a rallying figure.
I wish our president will,
Which president?
Well, whoever. Yung presidente natin if he wants to lead, we should help him,
But are you positive about ASEAN? In 2050, they said that we will be the 4th largest economy after China, India, and US. US will just be the 3rd.
Can you imagine that?
And the 4th is ASEAN.
Can you imagine that? And there are other countries that may wish to join us. For example, during the Second World War, we didn't like the plan of Japan about co-prosperity sphere.
Yeah, but China is doing it without any bullets.
Now maybe Japan should be active in ASEAN.
Okay, so you're positive about ASEAN?
Oh yes, very positive about ASEAN. That's where our future lies.
Okay, going back to your federalism. So, what's your dream of the governance system in that federal setup?
Well, just like the United States. We can become, but that's really future, because that's really beyond us. But what the good things are, for example, the incoming prime minister. I mean, if things go well in Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim is very aware of the concepts of Jose Rizal, because we can take off from there, because we can already, for example, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, and most probably Singapore and Brunei can begin the nucleus of a talk, and then the others could come in. Each time I imagine ASEAN as one country, wow, what a beautiful country.
Do you envision it as another EU, similar to EU?
More than EU.
Okay.
I'm dreaming of something like the United States of Southeast Asia.
But we're more culturally diverse.
That is not true. That is not true.
Okay.
It's not true. Alam mo, there are certain things fundamental to each. There's something, what is common to all humanity is in the region. And the kind of culture we have actually, the moment we succeed in building the trust and the confidence of the different leaders of these nations, it will be, because all we can see is that we will not we will not attempt to erase cultures.
Okay.
We will not.
Malabo yun.
Malabo yun. But, you know, U.S. tried and have succeeded in a way, although it's changing now. It's now realizing the different cultures that are arriving in U.S. soil. In our case, you know, there are not too many differences in the fundamental culture that we share here in the region.
Okay, so you're very positive.
I'm positive about it.
And do you think that is the hope for ASEAN?
Yes.
To, you know, to deter all of these threats?
Yes, so that we will be respected. Mawawala na yung China, US, you know. I don't think India will attempt anything serious.
India is opening now.
Yeah.
They're trying to reach out to ASEAN.
Yes, that's why. Then at least you see what India dealing with ASEAN. See?
Okay.
And China must deal with ASEAN. But China wants bilateral para he can grab one state at a time.
Okay, ang dami natin na pag-usapan. I wish we could engage in some more discussions on different aspects on regional and national security. Thank you very much, Secretary Gonzales, and hope to see you again in one of our future shows. Okay, thank you very much. That's all, folks. And I'm Kaloy Tabunda, and I'm 1 with 25.
When you can't do it all, do what you can. Caring for others. Pass it on.
Greetings everyone, I'm Maria Nestle Dawson and I'm currently standing here in front of the town hall of Place in Brussels, Belgium, a historical building that is a must-see whenever you're visiting the small but yet beautiful Brussels, Belgium. Among the many buildings here in the main square, the town hall, which was built in the 15th century, is the oldest one standing. The first thing you might notice is of course the tower itself. With a height of 96 meters high, the tower is to be seen in various places around the city of Brussels. Want to know something interesting about this building? Look closely at the town hall. Do you see it? Did you notice that the building isn't symmetrical? The left wing is longer than the right wing. Why is that, you may ask? Well, the construction of the building was finished in 1420, under the supervision of architect Jacob Fontaine. But the city government wanted to have more rooms, which resulted to an expansion of the left wing of the town hall. Not only the left wing, but also the tower, which was shorter back then, was renovated to its present 96 meters height due to a rivalry between the two cities of Brussels and Louvain of who could have the most prestigious town hall. The facade of the building isn't the only interesting part of the building. Let's go check the inner courtyard, shall we?